everyone, this is SomerSand with Chats About Improv, episode 16. And we have Feña Ortalli here with us today. And we have Maggie, and I'm Johan, and we will have a chat.
And today we are going to talk about international relations in the improv world.
So, Feña, international relations in the improv world, what does it mean for you?
For me, it's the network that keeps this running. We are a very small worldwide community compared to other things, and that makes us pretty close with each other. And at the same time, it's a very young technique. Modern improvisation has probably 70 years since the 1950s by other spotting modern improvisation. So it means that it's just 2-3 generations tops that we've been doing this. And I think it's, for me, it's the fundamental, the fundamentals, the cornerstone, that's the word I was looking for, of improvisation. It's international relations. Because every time we get together at a festival, every time someone travels to another community, we grow. We grow very fast. And of course, these borders were completely erased by Zoom.
Yes.
And that's something that I don't know if that would have happened without the pandemic. I'm sure it would take it longer, but it's something that is really, really interesting.
I think for sure we have now much more means to get in contact with each other, to get to know each other's work after the internet came. And sharing information, discovering other improvisers is now very easy to do if you go online. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, it's like this didn't exist when I started. The connections that we have were really physical. We have to travel around to meet other improvisers. And that was one of the reasons why I started writing the magazine, to producing status, because I was traveling throughout South America to different festivals and playing with different people, and I knew that there was a lot of improvisers that weren't able to travel, but I still needed for them to connect, to know each other. It would be a sin if I'm working this particular tool here in Argentina and somebody in Costa Rica is playing the same thing. It's a sin for them not to know each other. So for me, my goal was to connect those dots, and then it exploded with the interconnection that we have now.
Mm-hmm. Feña, you said so you were playing all around South America because, one thing about South America is that it's mainly dominated by one language, which is Spanish, apart from Brazil. Although Brazil is also very close to Spanish, the Portuguese. But also it's very important nowadays that there is also a kind of universal language, the English, which we are all three of us talking, although we are in 3 different countries. So that's also an important factor to unite people around the world.
Yes, with that we open another door, which is the main language or the main culture, and with main we can also say dominant, because we all speak English. A lot of people speak English because they've taught English in the schools, or because you needed to work, or whatever. And I think that's also a domination tool. And you see that in the different styles when improvising. In Latin America, in general, always speaking in general manner, we improvise very similar to the people in Spain. Probably similar to people in Italy. And the French community has a different way of playing, more connected to other communities, maybe with the French-speaking parts of Belgium or Switzerland. And Northern Europe has a very similar way of playing, like the North American school. So it's very interesting because my theory is that basically if you are a North American teacher with a lot of experience and you have to travel somewhere else, and we know most North Americans don't need to learn another language because everybody else speaks English, the only way they could teach and play is in other countries where they speak English. And you won't find that in Spain, in Portugal, in Italy, in France. You will find that in Germany, everybody speaks English. In the Scandinavian countries, everybody speaks English. In the Netherlands, they speak English better than George Washington. And the same in Latin America. So I think the pollinizers, I call these people that go to other places and connect, that job is connected strictly to language. That's why in Argentina, we knew improvisation with a French improviser that spoke Spanish. Otherwise, maybe someone else would have to taught us, because if you speak French in Argentina, you will have 10 people, 5 people attending the workshop in all Buenos Aires. So it's very interesting to see that now all international festivals, if they have to choose a language, of course they would choose English because it's the most common. But it's very interesting to mention that it's also very different how we improvise.
What it would be, since you are talking about it's very different how you improvise, could you tell us very briefly what would be the differences between European improv and South American improv and North American?
If I speak about these different schools, the first time I went to Canada for a festival, I realized I met that North American style, the Chicago style, in which basically it's very mind-centered and verbally centered, very witty and very fast, but their bodies were dead. Nothing was happening there. You put 2 rocks and a speaker, and it works because you get to listen to amazing lines and very quick, very witty. But in terms of what I like about theater in general, I didn't feel anything. And in South America, most of the people that started improvising were connected to theater in some other way. So for us, there is no narrative improvisation. Improvisation is narrative by definition, because we started doing theater that it so happened to be improvised. So we grew apart from the sketch-like or comedy-like. It's not that we don't do humor, but we are more connected to a theatrical tradition. And I think that also happens in different places. Or the people that started inspired by the French-Canadian match, which is a competition, or the people that were taught by Keith Johnston, or the people that started playing Viola Spolin's games. So for me, the main difference is that I don't understand, I don't conceive anything that I do if I don't follow the theater rules. I need to have a stage design, a costume design, something to hold on to, because this is how I play. And for me, that's the main reason. And after that trip, I understood a lot of things, and I started working on that verbal wit and how we can use dialogues to develop our characters and to expand and to expose and to do a lot of things. So I think both every world they feed each other and they make each other grow. But sorry, and usually it's harder for the dominant part to be influenced by the small communities. So that is why it's harder to if you have the dominant language, dominant industry, and the dominant history, and I'm talking about Chicago, why would you care about what someone is doing in a small town in Greece? And that for me is the problem.
And I guess with the Status magazine, you are overcoming that problem, because it's basically a forum where people with ideas, people would like to write a little piece about improv and things they do, they can contact you and publish something.
Yes, it's an open trivia.
Yeah. And you translate it in different languages as well.
Yes, we have it in Spanish, English, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Polish. I don't do all the translations. We have a wonderful team of improvisers translating all the articles.
I think that's a great way to broaden the knowledge of improv internationally.
Yes, and I think it's also when we started publishing in different languages, it also reflects the specificity of each community. And of course, the idea for me would be to have a local status. Because, of course, people that are, for instance, very important, let's say, in the French-speaking world, maybe they are not so well known in the rest of the world. And my job is to try to connect and to cross those circles. But it will be very interesting to, for instance, if you have a statuses only for France, so to speak, then you can put the magnifying glass and the microscope as another X more, and then and you see other things that in the huge map of improvisation it's too small. But it will be very interesting to have status, not for status, to have other publications, other magazines, other websites or blogs that focus on their own communities. Because it's very, very interesting. 2-3 weeks ago, I met 3 or 4 improvisation groups from a community here in Spain, from Extremadura, that I didn't know they existed. And now I know. And my job is, the first thing I told them was, now my job is to help you incorporate the rest of the community, because now I put the magnifying glass there and I found these people. Now I want everybody else to know them. It's something like some addiction I have.
So in the international relations in the improv world, Feña, which of these international relations are your favorite ones?
I would say Europe, because right now I'm living in Europe, and I think it's amazing how many festivals we have every month. And because of this, we are starting to connect with each other again, and we're starting to open up spaces to other people. Pre-pandemic, you saw the same faces in every festival all year round. After the pandemic, we found out that there were other people from other places that got to be seen, and they are also very interesting. And now you can see them in the real world. For instance, I love the work that Lina Royer did during the pandemic with the Improfest Online, bringing light to teachers and performers from all over the world. And that triggers that, for instance, Bala from India, from Bangalore, is one of the guests in the Improfest Offline in Bielefeld in November. And this is a person that we interview her for status. And I don't know if I was ever going to know about her if it wasn't for this Zoom wormhole that we found. And I think that's wonderful. And also, I think economically, financially, Europe has the means geographically to have this cross-pollination. In the opposite, in Latin America, it's harder because of economical, social, political, geographical reasons to have this interconnection. We also do it, but it takes longer and it's more expensive. But yes, and basically, not geographically, but the moments that are my favorites are festivals. It's an amazing way of meeting people, knowing about other people, taking classes, teaching classes, doing shows, watching shows, drinking beers, and talk for hours about the same. It's something that if I would have the opportunity to attend festivals when I started, when I was an amateur improviser, I would have taken them. And I think that's something that I encourage not only students but schools to take their students to festivals, because it's risky, because you don't get to control them, and that's something that a lot of schools and teachers don't like, for students to watch other things. But if you're confident enough to let your students see other things, I think this is a must to organize your students to attend the next festival.
Yeah, and it's not just that now the festivals are seeing the people that knew about the festivals online, but it's also that new troops are coming together through the Zoom online. Like, say, for example, Johan and me only started working on Zoom, and now we are a duo, on two different countries, and like that. There's all sorts of troops that have been forming, and now they're willing to go to the festivals together as well.
Exactly. And it's also nice. Once in a while I receive a photo from students from my online classes that, hey, we met, and because they met somewhere else and they send the photo and say, wow, now this person finally has legs. It's like the first thing I say, does this person have legs? Usually they do. But it's really nice because one of my fears was that it would be, when I started teaching online, was that it would be harder to develop that personal connection that we develop when we're students in an improv class. And the opposite, it grew stronger because at that moment we really needed any personal connection and interaction. So I think at least my students were very close with each other, even they were miles away.
And we thank you so much for being with us, with SomerSand, with our chats about improv. And we are so grateful that having you with us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I have a wonderful time talking with you.
Thank you so much, Feña. Thank you so much.
Bye for now.